Right, well, it's 7:05, so I'm gonna just get started with just like the basic intros. If everyone else, if the rest of the board wants to kind of keep on admitting people, that would be awesome. But thank you everyone for coming, especially all of the new MS1s. Welcome, and if it was your first week this week or month or anything, or if you haven't started yet, congratulations and good luck. It's super exciting. I'm excited for you all. But yeah, so we are the Region 3 Executive Board for the American Medical Association. And this meeting is just to kind of introduce you guys to us and what we do and what Region 3 is. So here is our executive board. We're going to just introduce ourselves and then we'll talk about like what Region 3 is and all the kind of things we do. So like I said, I'm Natasha, I may not have said, but I'm Natasha Topolsky. I'm a student at McGovern Medical School in Houston. I'm an MD PhD student, so I'm transitioning from my MS3 year to my PhD years. We do it a little differently than some other MD PhD programs. I've been involved in AMA since I was an MS1, and I'm super excited to be the chair this year. And I think it's going to be a great year, and always feel free to reach out with any questions you may have via email, text, group me. I'm more than happy to help, and keep bugging me if I don't respond.
Hi everyone, my name is Ida Vaziri. I'm your vice chair this year, and I'm an MS3 at UT Health San Antonio. I'm currently on my surgery clerkship, so that's been fun. And I also serve on the Minorities Issues Committee. So AMA is really, really great. Feel free to message me anytime with any questions about AMA, TMA if you're in Texas, or just like med school in general.
Hey everyone, I'm Heidi Ventresca. I am a second year from Louisiana State University in Shreveport. I was making a sign-in sheet and missed what we're saying, but I'm super excited to be on here. I started trying to get involved last year, and I'm very excited to actually be on the executive board and to be on this side of the meeting. And yes, by all means, let me know if you ever have any questions or anything I can help with, or if you ever want you or your school to be featured in the newsletter, by all means, let me know. And my email address is all through here.
Hey everyone, I'm Suleiman Kareem. Most will just call me Sully. I'm the membership chair and I'm from Texas Tech. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions regarding the membership, and we're excited to tell you guys about some exciting leadership opportunities.
How do they coordinate meetings?
Hello everyone, my name is Alvin, like the chipmunk. Just want to get that out of the way. I am one of your policy co-chairs, and so I'm a rising MS2 at Sam Houston State University. Melanie and I will be helping y'all with resolution writing, so if you have any questions regarding that, definitely reach out to us. But super excited to be here, super excited to see all the new members and medical students, so wonderful.
Hey everyone, I'm Melanie Baker. Like Alvin said, I am his policy co-chair. I'm an MS3 at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm your policy co-chair. I really hope that you all join us for the 8-hour for the Intro to Policy Writing workshop. It's really short, and this year we've decided to give you like a step-by-step intro to policy writing. So it'll be a great way to like hold your hand and lead you into getting some policies accepted. So join us, holler at us.
Hi guys, my name's Tina and I also go to school at Texas Tech with Sully. I am this year's advocacy chair and I'm really excited for this role because it's a new position. So really excited to bring advocacy events to Region 3. And I am an MS2 currently, and it's actually day 3 of our second year. So that's been fun. But really excited to join, really been excited to join AMA as a first year and been involved the whole year. And it's really exciting to be on this side of the screen.
Hi everyone, my name is Zainab Sandhu. I'm an MS2 at the University of Oklahoma College of Medicine, and I'm the community service chair. So feel free to reach out to me about anything in the community service room. I'm excited to be here.
Hey y'all, my name's Jenna Gage. I'm an MS3 at UTMB Galveston. I'm the AMA Foundation Liaison, and just excited to share y'all opportunities that the AMA Foundation has to offer.
Great. And Heidi's going to be sending out the sign-in sheet soon, just to remind everyone, if in case she's not talking. There you go. It's there. Please sign in so we can get your emails. Also, if Heidi or Sully or anyone wants to send kind of all the different ways to connect with us, we often use GroupMe and Facebook as ways to connect, and we have a lot of other ways. So please join them. It will help you stay informed and make everything so much more smooth when you're getting involved in AMA. All right, and here we just wanted to slide on our governing council. So we are Region 3's executive board. We're going to talk about Region 3 is, but we also have an executive council that's for the entire medical student section, so all of the United States. And I just want to highlight Whitney. She just sent a message in our GroupMe if anyone's a part of that, and she is on our executive council representing Region 3, and she's what's called the vice speaker. They preside in the House of Delegates, and we'll kind of get into that later. But you can also, we'll send out the slides later, read more about them and kind of what they do to support us. We also have some national student staff representatives, and one of them is also from Region 3. Region 3 is an awesome and active region, and we're really excited to support you guys and hopefully see more Region 3 members in leadership all across the board. But Brittany's from my school, so I'm super excited, out in McGovern, Houston, and she's spending a year in DC working with the government relations as a government relations advocacy fellow. So really excited for her. And then, so, okay, guys, what is the American Medical Association? So for any of you who don't know, just kind of a basic broad thing, I'm sure you all have a little bit of an idea, but it's a national organization that works to empower the nation's physicians to continue to provide safer, higher quality, and more efficient care for patients and communities. And their main advocate actually for the physicians. And they've been around more than 165 years and have done a lot of great stuff. They've also done a lot of things that people aren't happy about. But one of the things we all strongly believe in the medical student section, we often disagree with the doctors, but we think the best way to change things is kind of from within and working, working to learn the system and change things. So the AMA equation is more than just policy. So policy is one of the things we're going to talk about a lot. But as Tina mentioned, they also do advocacy. So we write policy that often turns into advocacy. But there's also lots of other realms for advocacy that we can teach you about and work with you for. If you have any ideas, we're always here to kind of support and augment all of your initiatives. They also do research and education. I'm actually on the leadership team for there's a committee on medical education, and we've been working on some research projects. We work with the AMA Education Hub to make education modules for doctors. So there's a lot of really cool things there that they do. They also publish JAMA, which I actually didn't know until probably a year into med school, even though I knew a lot about JAMA, which I thought was silly. And they give you guys you guys and everyone, doctors, tools. They're actually the ones that make the continuing medical education credits. They also make the codes for billing, which again, a lot of people have problems with, but they're really involved and entrenched. So it's a really cool organization to be a part of. And it's cool that they really do also, as you'll hear, value our opinion and let us really be involved in pretty significant ways. It's also the largest medical organization in America with over 200,000 members, and the voices, and so it's the voice they say it's like the voice of medicine with a lot of experience and with a lot of representation, and more representation is continuing to happen. So I'm going to kind of, this slide, the main thing I want you guys to get out of it is there's a lot of different parts to the AMA, and I want to show you how we fit in. And there's another slide that does this a little bit better. But basically, you guys are all part of a local chapter. So whatever school you're a part of, that's your chapter. And then your chapter is a part of the medical student section, which we call the MSS. There's a lot of acronyms in the AMA, so please bear with us. And if you ever don't know anything, please write in the chat and one of our board members will answer it, because sometimes we just completely forget and start using the acronyms. But it's very overwhelming. And I remember being so lost as an MS1. But so there's a medical student section, which is a section as a part of the House of Delegates. There's also a resident section. There's a women's section, young physicians. There's sections kind of for all the interests. There's psychiatry groups, radiology groups, kind of all of them. There's councils that work on different issues. Specifically, like I said, I'm part of a committee of medical students on medical education. There's also a council on medical education. Council on ethics and all sorts of different issues. There's a board of trustees that works to actually, so we make policy, they work to actually enact policy. And so we have a student member on that was Drayton, that I showed you the slide of earlier, and he works to kind of represent the MSS on the board. All the state medical societies are part of it. So if you guys are from Texas, TMA, there's a whole Texas delegation in the MSS, and we get to work really closely with them when we get to the physician level, which is really cool. So a lot going on. It can be really overwhelming, but we are all here to walk you guys through it, and we're all learning together. Yeah, and I saw Sully said he still gets confused as an MS2. I still get confused too. I'm still learning things every day, but slowly you learn more and more. But yeah, so there's just kind of like the real government, the American government. There's a legislative and executive branch. And as I talked about, the legislative branch, which is what we call the House of Delegates, they make the policy. And then the executive branch is kind of the board of trustees and the councils and staff, and they act on the policy. So the legislative branch, which is where we all are kind of in right now for the most part, it consists of, so we have our local medical schools. So every school, like I said, you're part of a chapter, and every medical school will elect at least one, or is allowed to elect at least one medical student delegate. So we really hope all of our schools are represented. Normally we have a good amount represented, but there's often a lot of schools that we have that don't end up sending a delegate to the conference. So we really want to try to make sure everyone gets sent. But they get one delegate and one alternate delegate. If your school's big or has kind of satellite campuses, you may get more delegates, but every school gets one representative at least that will vote on policy that you guys write, and anyone can write policy. Any member can participate in that. And we'll talk more about that later on when we get to the policy section. But so we write these resolutions and then everyone votes on it. And these resolutions will then get sent to the House of Delegates, where all the physicians are and the residents are, and all of the specialty societies that I talked about earlier. And medical students are represented in there too, but they're not the school delegates. So each region, so region 3, gets a certain amount of delegates that we elect that go there to represent us. So instead of having, we have, I think, 60 delegates from region 3 in the medical student section. With the physicians, we get 8. And then we have everything else, that's all the other sections that I talked about. They all vote on the policy, and it becomes AMA policy, which can be used for advocacy and other types of other purposes. So now to the medical student section. So our medical student section has a few main areas that we focus on. We have resolution writing, advocacy, community service, and leadership. The medical student section is divided into 7 regions. As I've been mentioning again and again, we are region 3. And I have another slide next on region 3. And the MSS also has standing committees. And so we'll talk about standing committees a little bit later too. As I mentioned, I'm on the medical education standing committee. Ida said she's on minority issues. And they're just committees that will work together to help with the policy cycle, and to help also just do advocacy and other endeavors with medical students from across the country. There's also all the boards, councils, and committees that I've alluded to, and then we can advocate at the national level, work on community service together, and we have leadership opportunities. So We are Region 3. So Region 3 is Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. And so our role as leadership is to facilitate involvement in the MSS through cross-state collaboration with AMA activities, and then we nominate students to represent us at the region level, or the national level with the greater HOD. And we just are here to support you. We are kind of a liaison to the national leadership, and again, are normally people that have a lot of experience and can be great resources for you. So we do resolution writing. We have a region conference that I have a slide on later. And again, advocacy and service. And these are some pictures from what we've kind of done as some of the things we've done. And obviously we've been virtual recently, so we have a slide on that too, a picture. So mentioned resolution writing, advocacy, community service, and leadership are our big tenets. How does your chapter fit in? So as I mentioned, any medical student can write a resolution, and each local chapter gets at least one delegate and one alternate delegate, and some have more that are expected to attend 2 national conferences each year in June and November to vote on resolutions that medical students have written. But like I said, any medical student, or I didn't actually say, any medical students can come to the conferences. Any can write resolutions and any can come to the conferences. It's just 2 people can vote. So the last in-person conference, which was in San Diego in November of 2019, McGovern actually had 10 people come, which was really, really exciting for us. And obviously we only had, 2 people voting, but it was really cool to have all the people there. And at the conferences, we'll talk about later, but there's other stuff besides the voting going on, which is fun. But yeah. So Alvin, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Natasha. So like Natasha already mentioned, resolutions is one of the biggest things that medical students have an opportunity to participate in with AMA. So if we're thinking about resolutions, you're in your community, you recognize an issue, whether it's in the clinic, with medical education, or whatever. And so the resolutions are a great way for us to write and ask for AMA to take. So we can ask the AMA to support an issue, advocate for a specific issue. And so this is our main avenue to do that. And another thing Natasha had mentioned, during House of Delegates, you have different specialty organizations, like psychiatry or surgery or young physicians. Everyone is submitting resolutions. So as medical students, you have an opportunity to learn about issues that those organizations are facing as well. And you have the opportunity to provide feedback to that too. So I think that's a great experience. When we talk specifically about resolutions, we do have a meeting the next hour that will dive deeper into all of these, but we're talking about issues that are timely. So when we talk about timeliness, it's things that are affecting our communities right now. So for example, when we had our June 21 meeting, a lot of it was around COVID, which was a big issue that was affecting our country at the time. We're talking about issues that are novel. So it has to be something that the AMA is not currently working on, something that there's not existing policy for. And of course, it has to be within the scope of AMA. So we would love the AMA to do a lot of things, but it's not possible for them to do sometimes. So it has to be something that they're able to advocate for. And of course, the last piece, that it has to be well researched. So any policy issue that we're bringing up should have adequate data. You should have reliable sources for that. And that's the basis of what we're asking for. Next slide. Perfect. So these are some of the resolved clauses. So essentially, like I said, we'll dive deeper into what is a resolved clause, what are whereas clauses, but this is basically our ask for the AMA. So as you can see, this part is going to be part of the actual policy that AMA has. So these are just some of the examples that we have seen throughout the history of resolutions. Go to the next slide. Perfect. And so why is this important, right? We have the opportunity to write resolutions that become part of, a broader list of policies that AMA has. But this is also used by other organizations, other advocacy groups to advocate for issues in the community. So for example, this was a resolution that the medical student section passed. It was regarding the veterans court systems. And so, it was an issue that affected a lot of individuals in our country. And so the resolution passed by medical student section was used for advocating for those courts. So just another example of, how these resolutions are used. It's all public record. So, once you pass it, these are things that you can put on your resume. You help pass certain resolutions. So that's a great opportunity for us too. Perfect. And so, like we said, we have another meeting the next hour where we'll be discussing this. And then we're going to split it up and make it a little easier for us this year. We'll have another meeting August 15th to give more information on that. And Melanie, if you want to add anything else, please do.
I'm just saying that the meeting starting at 8 may or may not be Hamilton themed. So I would show up. That's just me.
Definitely. Okay, and these are just, you will have access to this. We'll send this to y'all, but these are just a list of resources. We have a resolution guide. We have cheat sheets for everything. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. And like we mentioned, we'll have a lot of guidance for first years too, who might be confused on what's the first step you need to take. I know I was. It's a little overwhelming when the first time you're doing this, but it's super easy and it's going to be super fun.
Okay, so this year we're doing something fun and exciting called a mentorship pod. And so if you're interested in joining a mentorship pod, you can fill out, we'll send the slide deck out. And so you can click and fill out the form, but basically it's just going to connect you to a member of the executive board. So that if you have any questions about AMA or what's going on, we can get you connected to resources for writing policies and resolutions, and also advocacy and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So if you have questions about that, you can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help you. But we really hope a lot of people sign up on the form to be part of the membership team. It's a good way to get connected and also meet people from different states and schools.
I'm going to pop in for a second and say, please sign in. It really helps us. And if you want to get these sheets or these PowerPoint slides, we kind of need your email. So I just posted again in the chat. So please sign in. Thank you.
I can talk a little bit about the conference. Oh.
I think Avi's here. Avi, did you still want to talk about this? If not, Alvin's got it.
Yeah, I'm here. I can go ahead and talk about this. Okay, so we have our national conference coming up. And this is really exciting because during this time, the actual AMA comes together and all the physicians who are the leaders in their fields come together, and they're going to vote on key points of policy, make decisions that will resonate throughout medicine. So they're the ones deciding things when you read news articles and the AMA comes out saying that they take XYZ position. And so during this time, we as medical students have a set number of delegates that Natasha mentioned earlier that can go into that body, and we serve our medical students section to represent them. So we have 8 delegates from Region 3 in addition to state delegates. And our job is to go and advocate for all of your positions, and we take all of our, all the ideas that we may have written as an MSS through this resolution process, which we'll touch on more later on in the second half of the meeting. But we're going to take those ideas and we're going to fight for them. And so this is a list of all your delegates that were up just there. And I'm your region delegation chair, and there's several other delegates who are listed here. You can reach out to any and all of us as needed. And we're really going to help you figure out how to make your resolutions work when it's past the MSS level and it's trying to convince the physicians how to do it. And so our area of expertise is realizing when physicians are just going to ignore us because they don't like what we have to say, and we have to kind of figure out how to push back strategically. And then we also talk about how we can help with strategy through using state medical societies, and how we can use strategy through different sections like the LGBTQ section, the women physician section, RFS, which is resident fellow section. So we coordinate with these sections to get your ideas across the finish line into all the AMA policy that then gets into the news cycle. So if you're trying to make a big splash, let us know and we'll help you. I think that's my slide.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention too, so like we said, we have 2 conferences a year, anyone can go. And also there's normally a little bit of funding for students to go. And if you guys are having any problems with funding, please reach out. People often share hotel rooms, and we can kind of help you figure out if there's any ways we can get you guys funding. And then the other thing I want to mention about the conferences is, so we have the student section where everyone votes, and then we have the one that Abby was talking about where we have our Region 3 representative. But it's not just policy that we do at the conferences. At the conferences, there's also there's also talks that people do. There's workshops, there's poster sessions. There's a lot of different kind of things that we do. But yeah, so there's a whole cycle where we write our resolutions, and then we all go to the conference and debate them and vote. And then they will go to the next one where the delegates will vote.
Okay, so the standing committees. The standing committees are another really great way to get involved with the AMA. Like Natasha mentioned, or like I mentioned earlier, I'm on the Minorities Issues Committee. I'm chair of Minorities Issues Committee this year. Natasha is actually chair of the Committee on Medical Education. We have really, really good Region 3 representation on all of the committees, which is really, really great to see. Going through applications just for MIC this year, I was really impressed to see everyone, like all the people applying for Region 3. So we hope to keep up that kind of representation. But basically, you can apply to join a standing committee in June and December. And then that lets you kind of become like a student expert in whatever specific area your committee focuses on. So for example, the Minorities Issues Committee will review lots of resolutions that focus on minority issues and provide additional feedback for the authors before they go to the med student section and before they're heard at the House of Delegates. So we kind of just help our colleagues like polish the resolutions and get them as good as they can be before we send them off to the doctors to make their final call on policy. But we review resolutions, we do programming, we put out reports, and it's another really great way to just do some more advocacy. So if you have any interest in any of these kinds of things, feel free to reach out and just apply. I applied to Minorities Issues Committee my first year, and I fully didn't expect to join because I was like, oh, I don't have any experience. I just really care about this stuff. But they want to see that kind of passion, and you learn so much just from getting involved. So if you have any interest in this kind of stuff, I would highly recommend applying.
Real quick, so I just want to kind of point out that there are 2 new committees that are going to be formed in this upcoming half-year cycle, if you may. And so those committees, one's going to be on Native American health, and another is related to disabilities. And so those are also going to have applications for leadership positions. So that's not just joining, but if you want to get into leadership, that's another. And then also usually there is the HCC, which you'll notice is on that list. That also asks for leadership applications, I think at the half-year mark as well. So, if you feel really comfortable and you want to go in there and you're already or even if you're not and you just want to throw your shoot your shot, you can go ahead and apply for leadership positions even this December.
Okay, cool. So this is my slide. So as medical students, we have two main advocacy events. So one is in the fall, which is called National Advocacy Week, and that happens in October. We work with Brittany, who Natasha mentioned is our Government Relations Advocacy Fellow. So she is the voice of us medical students at the AMA level nationally. So that's in October, and either first or second week in October. So we'll keep you updated on the time. But this week is aimed to address critical barriers in accessing equitable, quality, and affordable healthcare, and helping medical students essentially to learn how to advocate effectively. And so each day has a specific issue that is focused on, and those will have you learn more about those issues and how to advocate for them. And then Medical Student Advocacy Conference, or MAC. So last year, when I was a first year, it was virtual because of COVID. So hopefully this year or this next year, it'll be in person. And normally it's in Washington, D.C. So it's actually really cool because you get to go to representatives and senators' offices and talk to their staff or to the representative and senator themselves and advocate on three main issues that the AMA is really passionate about that year. So this past year, it was on like mother's health and telemedicine. So really cool experience that I wish I got to do, but hopefully this next year will be in person. And then in January, we have the 2022 State Advocacy Summit, and this is mainly geared towards physicians and legislators to go over major advocacy goals. So those are the main two conferences and the conference for physicians and legislators. And then these are advocacy resources. So we have like the policy finder, which is what AMA currently has policy on, a letter finder, digest of policy, and advocacy hub. So just resources at the AMA level that they have interest in policy on.
Hey y'all, so as far as community service goes, I'd like to say your local chapters are honestly a really good resource. Like we organized like a food bank volunteering event. We also did like a voter registration drive. So just be on the lookout for what your local chapters are doing. But there's also something called the AMA Community Service Project Book idea in case if you wanted some inspiration for ideas. It's like a really long, detailed document full of things other AMA students have done. And it's a really great resource to look for like inspiration and stuff. And there's also this section involvement grants, which every school should try to apply to because they're there for you to use. Grants are free money, so always just try to apply to grants. And then so there's also the Community Service and Advocacy Committee, which we will be talking about later.
Yeah, and I can jump in real quick. So the advocacy chair position is new, and we want to create this committee, which is also going to be new. So I was thinking of having 1 to 2 students per school in R3 so we can coordinate chapter-wide advocacy events so we can all do them together as a region. So an idea I had, this is just like me brainstorming, is like having us focus on a specific idea that at each like local level. So like I'm in Lubbock, so I would focus on an area that my school has impact on, and other schools could also have different issues that they're passionate about at their local city. And we could all do that together on the same day. So it would be like a region-wide event, but at the chapter level. And then I don't know if Zainab wants to talk about the community service committee.
Yeah, so we definitely want to make community service an element of that committee as well. And so that would just be getting involved helping to come up with ideas and different themes that we want to incorporate in holding events across Region 3. So yeah, definitely keep a lookout to get involved in that committee.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit about some of the outreach programs happening in Region 3. So back when COVID was peaking, there was we had to come up with creative solutions on how to get medical students engaged. So the Oklahoma College of Medicine was able to hold a phone lobbying event, and it didn't take up too much time for medical students, and it still ended up being effective and engaging. And then during that brief time where we thought COVID was gone, the Texas Tech chapter was able to hold a social with a bunch of MS1s and MS2s and have people sign up for AMA and TMA membership and then follow up with emails. So those are some of the outreach programs we have going on, and just to give you guys some ideas for your chapters as well. And then if you ever wanted to highlight your chapter, we have Heidi, who's fantastic for the newsletter. All you have to do is basically just email her. Her email's listed. And then you also have an opportunity with the MSS Membership Engagement and Recruitment Committee as well. And you can just click there to nominate your chapter or a chapter or event from another chapter that you've heard of as well. And we can highlight you in the Instagram page, which Heidi sent in the chat, or the newsletter as well, or the Facebook. Membership is pretty easy. You can either just Google up AMA membership, create an account, sign up, or you can just click that link as well. Membership is about $68 for 4 years, so it's pretty affordable relatively to other things in medical school. It comes down to roughly like less than $20 per year. You also get a complimentary first aid book, Boards and Beyond, a bunch of other options that you can choose from as well. And I'll speak a little bit in the other slides about other benefits as well. So there's a bunch of benefits, like I mentioned. There's the community, there's scholarships, fellowships, membership discounts for travel, wellness, etc. And you get to participate in educational events within the AMA as well, with workshops at conferences that Tina and Natasha and all of them have mentioned as well. I haven't used this as an MS2, but there's that as well. Not sure where the slide went. But yeah, there's other benefits as well. There's Headspace. You get there for 2 years. I use that a lot, especially as an MS1, just because of how stressful adjusting to med school is. And there's also test prep. There's loan services as well. There's a lot of benefits, and it's pretty extensive with the AMA. So that $68 gets you pretty far.
Did the screen disappear?
Kind of.
What happened? I was trying to type in the chat, and then it got angry at me.
That's okay. While we figure that out, I can talk a little bit about the membership committee. So this is something we're starting new this year. And it's basically going to comprise of about 1 medical student per 2 to 3 schools. So Texas is going to have 5 positions just because we have a ton of med schools for whatever reason. And Louisiana will have 2 students, and then the rest of the students in the region will have 1 representative. And that will compose the membership committee. To apply, we'll have a link sent out. It's in the slides, but the only requirement is to be an AMA member and have some sort of leadership within the AMA, whether it's your local chapter or as an MSOP leader, which is a medical student outreach program. Very easy to apply to. They accept a lot of students. It's a way to really get your feet wet with the AMA and get some involvement and hopefully increase our engagement and recruitment within the chapter. So that's a little bit more information right there on the slide. We'll work with MSOP leaders, and we'll basically strengthen the new chapters within the region and existing chapters. So Natasha mentioned like some chapters don't have leadership or representation for conferences. So this is one way we can strengthen those chapters and hopefully get them very involved with the AMA within our region. And so the application's right there as well with that link.
Right. Sorry for the technical difficulty. I'm not really sure what happened. But yeah, just some other leadership opportunities, engagement opportunities. We have our executive board, chair-elect is elected in November. All the rest of the board members are elected in June. Our delegates and alternate delegates that Abhi talked about that represent us at the HOD are elected in November. We have a AMA Foundation Stewards of Tomorrow position that works with the foundation, which is the charitable arm of the AMA that I didn't talk about as much, and that's Jenna's position. We're normally electing that that in June now. We have a resolution review committee. We didn't update this. We have it every cycle, and they help Region 3 review the resolutions that everyone submits and helps help the region figure out what the best way to vote. And that will happen, those applications will probably go out in September or October. So be on lookout for that. Anyone can be a part of it. And if you're new, don't be worried. We have experienced members that are there to help you learn. It's a great way, especially if you don't write a resolution, to kind of get involved in the process. And then we have our Advocacy and Community Service Committee that we talked about, recruitment committee. You're gonna email Sully, that's more of the membership committee. And then standing committees we talked about. We're gonna try to do more Ignite talks this year. If you were able to see it last year, they're just 5-minute talks that you can talk about any kind of issue you're interested in. Last year, they were really cool. We had some really cool talks, whether it's a resolution idea, some kind of service you did, just an issue you care about, and it's something great you can kind of put on your resume. And then, yeah, we're writing resolutions. In terms of national and engagement opportunities, Ida, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about this? We've kind of talked about most of the things here already.
You can go for it. I kind of said my thing about standing committees.
We talked about standing committees. There's also things called convention committees that are for the actual conference. So they help just make sure everything at the conference is running smoothly. There's a conference specific HCC that works with making sure resolutions are going through the process properly. There's a reference committee that makes suggestions on how we should vote, a rules committee to make sure we're following the rules. There's specific rules on Parley Pro and things like that. Hospitality, credentials, lots of things, but not things to worry about right now. Governing council, which we talked about. And then there's so I talked about, like, there's the Council on Medical Education with the doctors. So there's a student representative on that. There's one on the Council on Ethics, Science and Public Health. So those are also things that you can apply to be and work with physicians, which is really cool. And if you haven't gone to your state orientation yet, there's often positions like that at the state level, which are really good to get involved in too, that I wanted to mention. A lot of other cool different external organizations that work with the AMA that you can serve as a kind of AMA representative to. Chris was our member, member of on the LGBTQ advisory committee at one, and we also had Raj, who was a member on the APA. He was the APA member or AMA member to the American Psychiatric Association. We have a LCME member, MBME member. JAMA Network has a fellowship, so that's where students can work with them. Lots and lots and lots of different things. If you have any, you can kind of look through the slides. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And there's a whole link for all the opportunities. And then finally, the Physicians of the Future Summit that I mentioned. So early 2022, probably in February, hopefully in person, we will all try to get together as a region, and we'll have keynote speakers from really cool people in our region. There'll be workshops on various things that you guys might be interested in, whether it's Parley Pro, resolution writing, advocacy workshops. One year we did social media and how to represent yourself, and do advocacy on social media. We always have a poster competition. So if your school gives you funding to do a poster, you are saying you're presenting at a regional conference. We are going to try to do more of the 5-minute talks. We always do a service event at the conferences. We have national leadership come and talk about kind of some of the things that the AMA has done. One of the cool things we've been working the medical student section does a lot on smoking, anti-smoking advocacy. We actually were the ones that wrote a resolution to stop smoking on airplanes back in the 90s, which I think is really cool. And we've been doing a lot of vaping and smoking advocacy recently. But lots of other things. And so they talk about kind of all the things the MSS has done, which is interesting. So as we've been sending in the chat, here are all the different ways to connect with us. Please join all of them. You can always mute any of them, but they're really useful for you guys to be engaged with us. We also, with our Instagram, might have some takeovers. So if you're ever like at like a state level conference, your school is doing something really cool, you can do the takeover. We have a website. It's not completely updated yet, but it has a lot of great information. So if you ever want to go to it and explore, we'll be continuing to update it with all of the things for 2021 in the near soon. Here's the link to join. Also, there's some links that you can't access if you haven't joined. And if that is the case for you, then please reach out and we can try to help you if you're not, ready, you can't afford the membership right now, you're not ready, sure if you want to join, and we can try to work with you there. Yeah, and then the MSS also has a Facebook page. We have a policy chat group where people just talk about policy and different issues. It's a little bit loud, so most people mute it, but it's cool to be a part of. And then if you're an inactive or new member, new chapter, or you don't know about your chapter, reach out to us and we can try to see if we have any contact information for your chapter. And if you guys really are brand new or inactive, Shane McGoey is a staff member for AMA and he can really help you guys out. And we also have some other staff that are fantastic. If you guys don't have your oh my gosh, like MSOP members, definitely reach out. Also, if you have updated your leadership, please send like a DM or email or text or anything and let us know who your leaders are. We're still missing a lot of new leadership that transitioned, and we want to make sure we have everyone's contact information if you happen to be a leader on the call right now, or that your leadership has changed. And then some other little things. Jenna, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so the AMA Foundation does have some scholarships available for students, and I will do my best to let people know, like in the group me, whenever those are coming up. It's usually most scholarships are usually around like springtime, so just keep that in the back of your mind. And the one on the slide here, like just as an example, is Physicians of the Tomorrow scholarship that is opened again in March of this, sorry, not this year, but in 2022 for rising MS4s. And there's a couple other scholarships, but yeah, just keep in the back of your mind. Free money is always nice. Yeah.
So we have some information on 2021 in review and kind of what happened at the conferences. Here you can just click on the information to read about it if you want to go to the slides and see what we've been up to, and keep an eye out for our newsletters. And most of them should be published on our website if you want to see the old ones. And then for upcoming conferences and events, the big things to keep in mind, we have our meeting right after this. If you can stay and you want to hear about policy writing, we have the other one on Sunday. So the one today is kind of like intro to policy writing. What kind of policy makes sense? How do you do the open forum post, which is just posting your idea? And then the one on Sunday is going to be like, okay, how do you actually write a resolution? What is the nitty gritty? And then we have monthly meetings every Thursday of every third Wednesday. Sorry, squished them. Every third Wednesday of the month, where we'll go over kind of new relevant topics. It's a chance for you guys to talk to us, ask questions. They're going to be super informal, should be fun. We want to get to know you guys. We're not scary. We're all friendly. Please feel free to reach out and please come to these meetings because they should be really useful. We also have a research sharing folder. So again, when we'll send this out, if you guys have any really great resources that you want to share with other chapters, you can link them there. We also have just resources that we really like that we have in this other folder. We're going to send it all out, but we want to be able to give you guys everything you need to be successful. And that is our first presentation. Before we start in policy writing, what kind of questions do you guys have? I'm sure there's a lot of questions or a lot of things that don't make sense. You may be afraid, not comfortable asking questions. Please do though. We have a few minutes.
I can ask a question, I guess.
Awesome.
What do you guys have you guys played any role in, oh sorry, I didn't realize my camera was closed. In rural medicine specifically, just as a broad question.
So the AMA as a whole absolutely has, and the medical student section. There are always a lot of resolutions on that have to do with rural medicine and increasing, access to patients in rural areas. Region 3 has definitely had resolutions that have been related to it. They're not coming to the top of my mind right now. Abby, if you, or I don't know if any of or Justin, actually, if you're still here, you might know best. Justin was our previous section delegate, and he's the one that actually led all of the region delegates. So he's like a great encyclopedic resource. I don't know if he's still here, but he might have some insight, and I don't mean to put him on the spot. Or Abby.
Hey everyone, Justin here. Can you see me?
Yes.
We can see you,
All right,
Justin.
awesome. I'm on my phone. I was at the gym during this call, so trying to multitask, but I just got home. Yeah, so I mean, one thing that the AMA has had, which the MSS has kind of like broadened more recently, is like related to access to broadband for rural areas. The MSS has been trying to actually broaden that for universal internet access, and it's been a 3-meeting saga that continues to the next meeting, just because of like restrictions on what can be heard at the HOD. I know there's also have been recent resolutions about like reimbursement in rural areas. I don't think all of them passed. There's also like education programs like loan reimbursement for people who like practice in rural areas, so that's another thing. And I would recommend, though, if you're interested in that topic, just go to the AMA policy finder. You can Google it, type in rural, and you'll probably see a lot of different resolutions that have been passed related to that. And then I'll go over to Abby if Abby has anything else to add.
I mean, I have nothing else to add, Justin. You are definitely the deepest well of knowledge. I would just say that in general, as you guys kind of go through things and figure things out through the AMA, just continue to ask and reach out to people and try to collaborate, because that's going to be the best way to understand these problems and know how to work on them.
Thank you.
Natasha, can I quickly piggyback on the rural medicine thing? So they were talking about the major effort this year with telemedicine, and that's huge for rural areas. They were talking about like Justin said, with broadband access and everything, that's really important. But specifically, I'm from Arkansas, and majority of our state is rural. So that was to our legislature moving us for people in rural areas. So there's a lot of opportunities.
Thank you again.
And there's also, I mentioned in the chat, there's a really cool document that I found out about really late that actually has all the resolutions that went to like the physician HOD and what's happened and how they've acted on it. So whether they sent a letter or they gave money, whatever they did, it has an information about that, which is a really cool resource to look up as well. And we'll send all of that information to you guys, and feel free to reach out if you can't find it and you're interested in it. We have a few, we'll wait 1 or 2 minutes before we start the next one, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen.